Hey guys, welcome back for another fun-filled adventure on Tamed Antics. So last part we left you, or we were undoing our transmission cross member so we could get the tranny pan off so we could do our shift kit. I made a mess. Popped the pan off and broke the one bolt, that was two bolts that were holding it in. Made a mess, so I'm cleaning that up. But I'm gonna take you along with me while we pull the valve bodies out, and we'll get them on the bench and follow the instructions or whatever they say you're supposed to do. I've never done one of these in a 4R100 before. All right. Well, we're just gonna start by dropping this valve body out of here. I got a little soda tray to set my valve bodies in so they don't have to go on this floor dry. I'll pop these loose, and then I got a little tray for all my bolts. Alright, so the next thing we gotta do, we got the valve bodies on the bench. We got our accumulator. We're supposed to remove the accumulator valve, and it's kind of stuck. Alright, I got it popped loose now. It should just wiggle out. We're gonna try and keep this all in order so we don't lose anything. Can't get the rest of it out, but just gotta get my pick in there. Just being stubborn. Okay. Get that out. Alright, get another one of these accumulators. Bring valves out of here. Stuff is sticky. It's really hard to do on camera. Another one. Pop this other one out. The spring coming out. Alright, so this is the stock valve, stock spring, and this will get swapped out with these three springs and the silver spring, and we'll switch to the steel valve that was provided. This one should go. So I believe the purpose of these is it helps hold line pressure, like it's like the helps hold extra tension on the actual clutch packs per, like, you know, whatever gear this is for, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is with the new winds in it. They go to a triple wind instead of just that single guy. And so, like, one of the biggest problems with 4R100s, I believe, is that overlap. And when it overlaps, it doesn't hold pressure. And when you're not fully engaged, you're slipping. And when you're slipping, you're taking stuff out. So that's what this shift kit's supposed to help counter. So I did notice that we do have to pull the solenoid back. So after we finish up messing with the accumulator body, valve body, we will go back and pull that out. I'm not gonna show you all this on all the other ones because it's literally the same thing. Had to go to the parts store and grab a couple drill bits. One of the first things they wanted to drill out is these. I guess on a later model they have a notch. So drilled that out to 0.093. So I just put the accumulator valve back in. I just had to add that blue spring inside of there after I drilled these holes. I did notice I missed an important step. That white spring on, I think it's third gear. So I gotta pop that back apart real quick and put that spring in. Not a big deal. Next up, we have to drill our holes for our shift firmness. And we're going to drill for V8. So we need to drill the second hole and fourth hole to 094 and the middle hole to 090, 082 or 073 or in between there. Go on hole number 2. Ready to rip. And number 4, which is this guy over here. We have to drill our other hole to, I'm going to drill it to 081. It says 073 to 082. Nice clean. Knock the burr off. Alright, we wanted to go with the V8 firmness because we have big tires, we got gears, V8, just a lot going on, and the firmer the shift, to an extent, hopefully the longer the transmission will last. So then one of the next things we need to do is get the solenoid pack out and verify that it either has the EX hole or we need to add a bunch of holes. And then once that's out, we have to do this last page, which it has a bunch of check balls. So I'm not excited about doing that under the truck, but we'll have to do our best to keep them intact and catch any of that fall. Just gonna run down on this transmission that's in here. It's a 4R100 out of a 03 Super Duty. I bought it off of Marketplace from some guy in Wisconsin. I've never driven this thing yet. I also installed that transmission under the impression that it is good. So hopefully my modifications with the shift kit, and then I also have one other thing I have to do so we can get our winter shifter hooked up. We have to install this kit right here. It is a slicker rod, and it basically makes it adapt to the winter shifter, and they recommend you change it. So there's a little bit of instructions there. We have access to this now that the pan is out, so that'll be another thing we do while we're in there, great news is once this stuff is all done, we are really close. So that's exciting. We just have to fill it with training fluid. Another thing was, so no one has ever put a 4 or 6 bolt 4 valve or any 4.6 in front of a 4R100 because the torque converters are different and they don't work. But for whatever reason, the Aviator is dished out a little bit more and it actually bolted up without any modification, except there's a little bit of rubbage on the flywheel to the bell housing. So when it's running, it has a little bit of a supercharged sound, like just a very small, just barely nicking it. We're just gonna let it wear it. Maybe not the right answer, but we're not pulling the transmission out just for this. It's literally just buzzing by. So we have to add a new output speed sensor in and just plug in the wires. Put these brackets on for the shifter. Put the bracket that I already made on for the transfer case selector for the 4-wheel drive because we switched it from electronic shift to manual shift. And I'll show you that as we do that. And we're going to be like days away from driving it, or at least starting it and moving it maybe. There's a couple little things that I still have to wrap up on the motor. Just tighten the intake down. And a couple other bits. But if we stick at it this weekend, we might even get her started. So, no promises. So, I'm going to jump underneath here, grab that the solenoid pack out so we can check that for the holes that need to be drilled. And get that next plate out. It looks like this. So we can check to see if all the holes are drilled to the proper size. We also have to change the EPC valve, which is this little guy. This is the coil or solenoid pack we got to remove. But I wanted to point out, so there's a little filter right here. And then there's a check ball. There's 2 more. There's another one. There's one. There's one. There's one. And I believe somewhere around here there's supposed to be a steel one. Maybe it's up underneath the solenoid pack. But we're going to get this all out. And then all you have to do, so this is that shift rod that I was talking about. We gotta unbolt that, slip it out, and we should be good. That's the most of it. Clean everything up, put it back together. We gotta get our gasket surface a little better shape as well. I have a tool for that, and unfortunately we have 2 bolts right here that decided that they wanted to stay with the truck and not come out. So the solenoid pack out and it would not budge, and I had to pry a little bit, and I broke the electrical connector off that's supposed to go in here. These are supposed to be soldered on, so I guess we're gonna just buy a remanufactured solenoid pack to put in here. Now we gotta go get that plate off the bottom there. The plate that's on there now has all those balls in it that we don't want to lose. Oh, I already dropped one. I'm pretty sure. All these balls sitting here, we don't want to lose those, and that's what I thought. Here's the metal one that I was talking about. This is what fell on me. That's just the EPC valve spring. I think we won here. And again, you can see this is the connector that broke off in the solenoid pieces. Or the connectors where they were soldered. We're gonna have to get a new one of those. Alright, so we gotta drill this hole and this hole out. It says to drill 3, but there isn't 3, and there's supposed to be one here. Unless it's underneath there, but we'll have to check. Alright, continuing on. We're gonna get the accumulator valve body put in just to help so nothing comes loose. This plate's kind of just sitting here right now. The only thing holding it up is these 3 bolts back here. So I'd like to get those on. There's some light for the subject. You get that put back on just to help so it's not sagging. I don't want to let it bend or anything. And I remember all my check balls I don't want to move. We got to install that calibration plate. And the rest of it. I'll be honest. Oh, okay. So there's already a filter with a screen in it right there. We're just gonna put a nut on the end on both ends. That's my dipstick tube right there. Nice and clean. There's nut started. We're gonna get this thing changed out here if we have time yet tonight. Promised. Yeah, I got about 20 minutes, so let me grab a wrench for that and we'll get at it. And I ordered a new solenoid pack. We'll be here Tuesday. So that's something else we're waiting on. These carbide scrapers do wonders. You can already see it, the difference. Run back. I got this all wrapped up. The shifter. You can see I put the roll pin in. It's on the collector like it's supposed to. I put the electric part of the selector on. I can't remember what it's called. And the arm for the cable. I gotta put bolts in this yet. But other than that, good deal. Something else that we need to do is change this bypass line. It is a thermostatic bypass. So basically before the temperature of the transmission gets up to running temp, it doesn't send any fluid up to the cooler. And these unfortunately were leaking, so I just figured it was just as easy to replace the line. So that's what we're gonna do next. Hopefully it's not full of hydraulic or transmission fluid, or we're gonna get messy again. Alright, so we got our lines cleaned up. I'm going to put a little pipe dope on and put them back in where they belong. my flashlight died, so you guys don't need to watch that. Alright, we got the tightened up, hose clamp down, tightened up, pipe dope on it. We're gonna grab the valve body, put it back up. £100 I couldn't find an actual like pattern per se. 100 pounds seems crazy. Maybe not. But we'll just kind of bounce around in here. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a weekend at that. Got the solenoid pack coming in the mail, so I can't put the transmission back together 100%. Got the accumulator body in, the valve body then. Swapped out my O2 sensors for block offs and put my Holley O2 sensor in, so that just needs plugged in. I did that off camera. And I got that shifter rod, selector rod swapped out. So pretty busy weekend. Got a lot done, pretty satisfied. Big step closer to being done. So, all right, well, until next time, you guys have a great one.